Good afternoon, everyone. Today is Monday, June 9th, 2025. We're here this afternoon for a land use hearing. I call this meeting to order, and we will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, well, good afternoon. We have a full house this afternoon, and I am Kristen Stevens, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. With me are my fellow commissioners, Commissioner Jody Shattuck McNally and Commissioner John Kafalis. From the Clerk and Recorder's Office, we have Diane Cheney with us, and from the County Attorney's Office, we have Frank Haug. And I'm going to turn things over to our Planning Manager, Jenny Axmaker, who will introduce the rest of the folks and give us some instructions about how today will work. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As you mentioned, I'm Jenny Axmaker, Planning Manager. Joining me at the dais, we have Katie Bilby from the Engineering Department, Senior Planner Samantha Mott. From our Planning Admin Support, we have Ryan Oswandel. Across the way, we have Tracy Shambo from our Engineering Department, as well as a new member of the engineering team, Aaron Worster. And then we have Connor Sheldon. Joining us from the Health Department, we have Leah Schneider and Ashton Brodall, and then we have Planner JC McNulty. With that, we respectfully request that all members of the audience silence their electronic devices. Please help yourself to a copy of the agenda and hearing procedure instructions, which are located on the wall just to the right to the hearing room entrance. If you're joining us online, you can find those at larimer.gov/BOCC/commissioners-meetings. Please wait to speak until you're recognized by the chair. Please maintain civility, refraining from audience applause, comments, or disruptions, whether positive or negative. Anyone who's disruptive during the hearing will be asked to leave. Please make all comments to the Board of County Commissioners from the podium. A portable microphone is available as needed. Please state your name at the beginning of your comments and provide the spelling of your name if it's unique. Please speak directly into the microphone so that remote participants may hear. And just to note, the microphone on the podium can be repositioned to best capture your testimony. Upon request, assisted listening devices are available for the hearing impaired. For those attending on Zoom, you will be muted until you're recognized by the chair. If an online attendee wishes to speak or requests that a consent item be removed, please use the raise your hand function on the Zoom control bar or *9 on the phone. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Now I'll go through some additional information, including what is on our agenda today. So all the items that we have are on our consent agenda today. The way the consent agenda works is that these items are considered routine in nature, and as far as we know, there's no perceived or significant controversy. That may not be the case for at least one of these items. So both members of the public and commissioners can pull an item off the consent agenda, and we can have a hearing on those items. So I'll go through those items, and then we'll ask those questions. So the first item on the consent agenda is the dissolution of the local improvement district for Hillside 2019-2 dissolution. This is to dissolve the Larimer County Local Improvement District number 2019-2 Hillside Drive. There are 5 lots located in Country Club Estates. And the second item is dissolution of the General Improvement District number 1, dissolution which includes Imperial Estates, Second Imperial Estates, and Westfield Subdivision. This is, just as it says, to dissolve that General Improvement District. The next item is deliberate lot consolidation and easement vacation, file number 25, land 4473. This item would consolidate lots 29 and 30 in the Crystal Lakes 12th PUD and vacate the 20-foot wide utility easement along the common lot line. Next, we have a Poudre Fire Authority sign appeal number 2, file number 25 GNRL 0569. This appeals to table 8-1 in the land use code to allow for 3 signs at the Poudre Fire Authority Station 7 and to 8.4.1D1 of the Land Use Code to allow for a proposed Maltese cross, which is the fire department sign, wall sign to contain internal illumination. And then the final item on our consent agenda and our total agenda today is the Weiss Family Ventures Appeal, file number 25 GNRL 0567. This is an appeal to Article 4.6 of the Land Use Code regarding parking requirements. So those are the items on our consent agenda. Would either commissioner want to remove anything from the consent agenda? Okay. Seeing that no one wants to, is there anyone from the audience who would like to remove an item from the consent agenda? Please come forward and talk to speak. Speak into the microphone and let us know what item you would like us to remove.
Hi, Commissioners. My name is Jason Martin. I live in the GID number 1 in Larimer County, and we're requesting that you remove from the consent agenda the dissolution of GID number 1.
Okay, thank you. We will remove that item from the consent agenda. Are there any other items that anyone else would like to remove from the consent agenda this afternoon? Is there anyone online who wanted to remove anything from the consent agenda?
If there are any members of the public online who would like to remove any of the items remaining on the consent agenda, please use the raise your hand function now. There are no hands raised.
Okay, then we will be making a motion to approve all the items on the consent agenda except for that item 2, which has been pulled. Commissioner Kafalis, will you make that motion, please?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you, and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. I move to approve the remaining items on the June 9th, 2025 consent agenda, subject to the conditions of approval, as well as further authorizing the chair to sign any findings and resolutions.
Did you remove item, you said without item 2?
I said remaining, but minus the item.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misheard you. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. That motion passes. So all the items that were on the consent agenda except item 2 have been approved. So we will move on to item 2, which is the dissolution of the General Improvement District number 1, which includes Imperial Estates, Second Imperial Estates, and Westfield subdivision. So I hope that, the staff report here, which will be short, will give you some clarity. If it doesn't, you're welcome to come up and give public comment. Public comment is not Q&A, so we'll just take your public comment and then so we would take people's public comment if you have, and you're welcome to pose questions. We just won't answer them at the moment. We can get those questions answered later from staff. So let's move on to a staff report, please.
Before we get started, Commissioner, I'm just going to go ahead and try to go through some of what the board is being asked to do today. This particular General Improvement District, GID, was created in 1970. General improvement districts, public improvement districts, local improvement districts are for particular projects in particular neighborhoods. It's an additional tax that goes out to all of the people in those particular neighborhoods. This one has not been functional for many years. No one should have been getting taxed on this for many years now. We have to track all of those because they're essentially a special district similar to what other special districts that exist in the state. There's a particular statute, which is Colorado Statute 32-1-1002. Or I'm sorry, that's not the right one. But the statute requires a hearing to be conducted by the Board of County Commissioners. It's 3020-527 is the one that I'm thinking of, Colorado Revised Statute 3020-527. Which requires you to consider whether to keep the district in functionality or not. This will not affect the regular maintenance that goes on in the neighborhood. The regular maintenance that goes on in the neighborhood will continue to be done. What it does mean, which is true anyway, whether this exists or doesn't exist, is that the complete redoing of the road will have to be done through the neighborhood figuring out a way to fund that. It doesn't change the regular maintenance of the road, but to the extent that major reconstruction of the road needs to be done, the citizens of that area will have to elect to tax themselves to pay for that major overhaul of the road. So this action is trying to clear off what is essentially a zombie PID that hasn't existed for a long time and hasn't been taxing for a long time. Even if we were to leave this in place, if there was a project that came up that the citizens of that neighborhood or the residents of that neighborhood wanted to fund, they would have to go to a vote. Because of the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, because any additional tax on an individual's property has to go to a public vote. So whether this exists or doesn't exist, you would still have to have a new vote and a new district created to put an additional tax on the resident's property. So that's what we're trying to do today. Also, GIDs don't exist anymore. The statutes have changed. It used to be you did this in the 70s through something called a general improvements district. Those are now written out of the statutes. If you want to have this done now, you have to do either a local improvement district or a public improvement district, which is able to be done. If the residents of that neighborhood want to do that, they can do that, and they would have to if they wanted to start taxing themselves again. So the function of what the board is being asked to do in this case is to get rid of something that's 50 years old, that is no longer able to function in the way it needs to be functioned, and it's not going to change the regular maintenance that they're getting now. Hopefully that helps explain.
That does, thank you. And then Katie, were you going to do some additional presentation?
So this is a brief introduction. It's only one slide. Again, Frank kind of covered the majority of why we're here. This was actually created on May 5th, 1970. It didn't even go to a vote at the time. It was routed via petition, and the Board of County Commissioners in the 70s approved that. It was actually called Chapter 58 of Sessions Law, not even the state statute. So very different requirements at the time. We have not collected a mill as far back as 1993 that we can actually track on this. The last resolution I could find where they set a mill was in 1984, and they set it to 0 at that time. They still had remaining funds available, so it did stay in an account and accrue interest. We ended up spending those remaining funds in 2017. We worked with the Road and Bridge Department at that time, spent down the funds and did major repairs that were a little bit more than their standard surface level maintenance that they are going to continue to receive. They actually, when we went to our new accounting system in Fran, there was a determination made to not even pull in this new account because it was at 0. And again, the maintenance and the upkeep on doing that was not there. We have no money. Everything has been paid for. So this is more of a housekeeping just to clean this off, because should the neighborhood need, as Frank said, to go back and collect money for a more in-depth than surface level kind of road project, they would have to go back to ballot anyways. We cannot begin to collect the approved amount of the 10 mills from 1970.
Great. Thank you, Katie. Any questions for Katie or Frank on this? Go ahead, Commissioner Cavalis, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think, Frank, you made a reference to, and you alluded to that, Katie, that if folks wanted to get more substantive road maintenance work, replacement work, they would have to go back and go through the process and either form a PID, Public Improvement District, or I think you said, Frank, an LID, Local Improvement District. Could either of you explain the difference in how those work as far as the revenue stream? One's a mill levy, the other one's a fee, I think, assessed against a property.
A public improvement district is a mill levy, and it's for ongoing sort of maintenance, longer term type projects. A local improvement district is like, let's say you need to build a bridge, and all you need to do is build one bridge. You can do a local improvement district, assess taxes for that particular bridge, build it with the tax money paid for, and then you can go ahead and fund that project, and then it ends. The public improvement districts do give that opportunity also, but it's more for longer term maintenance. We have 60-something public improvement districts in the county, and all of them are similar to this. It's a residential neighborhood in the unincorporated part of the county. The county does sort of surface level maintenance, but the residents of that area are responsible for the major road overhauls. That's true and has been true whether this was in place or not.
Thank you, Frank. And just to offer an example to folks, and hopefully they understand this, the previous item on the agenda this morning, this afternoon, was the dissolution of the hillside, the the Hillside Road Local Improvement District, which was established in 2018. And that was established to address a specific problem. 5 property owners' parcels were agreed to a fee that was assessed against their property, and that was to address drainage issues that were happening on that road as you come off of Country Club Road. That work has been completed, and as a result, that is why we are dissolving that particular LID.
Thank you. Thank you. Good questions, Commissioner. Commissioner Shanahan, anything that's come up? Okay. So basically, it's the residents that are here will likely not see any change in what they're used to. There will be this, they haven't had a tax likely since around roughly 1984 that they've paid on this. The funds that they were taxed before that have been spent down. They will get the regular road maintenance like any other community that's still part of road maintenance. Some neighborhoods are no longer part of road maintenance because they came into existence after 1993. But the ones that are still in the program will get that surface treatment. If they want something more than that in all neighborhoods, they would, if they need a major road overhaul, they have to create a special district. We do not do that in neighborhoods any longer. Okay, so with that, there may be questions still in the audience. And so we will open this up to public comment since there's so many folks here. How many folks want to speak on this topic? Okay. Okay, so we'll give everyone 3 minutes that wants to speak. Like I said, we won't be answering, this is not a Q&A, so you'll have your 3 minutes. And then with the questions that come up, we'll pose those questions that you might have to our staff and make sure that you're comfortable with kind of what's happening here and familiar with what's happening here. So we'll have people come up one by one. I mean, like I said, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. We'll ask you to introduce yourselves, and then we'll cut you off at 3 minutes.
I'm going to start with my statement. There's plenty of other questions. Jason Martin, once again, from GID number 1 in the Westfield subdivision. Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jason Martin. I'm a property owner in GID number 1. Over 40 residents of our neighborhood gathered on Wednesday, June 4th. I'm sharing a statement on behalf of many of our neighbors who are here today with us. The property owners and residents of GID number 1 object to the proposed dissolution of the district at this time. We request this item be pulled from the consent agenda, like I asked earlier, as outlined in CRS 302527, which allows county commissioners to vote in favor of a dissolution only if it's in the best interest of all concerned. We argue the dissolution is not in the best interest of the residents of the neighborhood at this time. Our neighborhood recognizes the need for ongoing funding source above and beyond the limited maintenance that Larimer County provides to our neighborhood. We request a reasonable amount of time and communication for our neighborhood to consider utilizing the GID. The letter sent to property owners in our neighborhood on May 2nd states that this public hearing meeting was scheduled to consider the formal dissolution of our GID. Yet the letter also states this GID will be dissolved. And your publicly posted agenda states that staff recommends for the board to vote to dissolve the Larimer County GID number 1. This language is in opposition with itself and misleading to us. Notifying our neighborhood on May 2nd with no intention to collaborate with us before this vote did not offer our neighborhood a reasonable amount of time to gather and respond. In addition, hosting this hearing during regular business hours appears to be an intentional limitation of public participation. One of the county's guiding principles is cultivating inclusive and collaborative partnerships. Our neighborhood wants to collaborate with the county. We've proven this in the past by partnering with your sheriff's department with our Neighborhood Watch program, and it's been very successful in our neighborhood. Another guiding principle, empowering people to take responsibility. Our neighborhood wants to take action, as evidenced by gathering last week and our presence here today with you all. The last guiding principle I want to mention is providing consistent quality customer service. We would not classify the lack of opportunity for a meaningful response from our neighborhood as quality customer service from the county. We request reasonable time for our neighborhood to gather, meet with the county, and put measures in place that ensure our roads remain healthy and safe. To be clear, we do not believe this dissolution is in the best interest of all concerned parties, as defined in CRS 30-20-527. We object to the dissolution. We request that this item once again be pulled from consent agenda, and we look forward to hearing from you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
My name is Garland Lombard, Lumbard. I'm a resident of Imperial Estates number 1, and I have a question. I know that you're saying that you would continue to do surface maintenance, seal coat, etc. And you're talking about we need to do this improvement district if we need to do like the base of the road. So my question is, what if we had a couple of potholes? That would entail more than just the surface. So you'd have to actually fill the hole. So would that be covered under the general maintenance or not? Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wanted to speak? Please come up. We have only a few people. Okay.
My name is Kathy Harris. My question is just a little more elaboration on the last one. Could you give us a little more detail on what is the general maintenance that is already covered without doing increased taxation?
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Harris. Next speaker, please.
Well, thanks for having us. I'm Randall Dale, live in the Westfield subdivision. Again, it's back to general maintenance. Y'all would chip seal regularly every 3 or 4 years. And is that considered normal maintenance? That's my question. Or are we going to have to pay for chip sealing? Because that can be expensive.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? I guess a lot more people did want to speak after all.
Hello, my name is Lindsay Mason, and I'm in GID number 1. We have a list of questions that our neighborhood gathered last week, and I think I just want to emphasize, we understand regular maintenance will be maintained. We understand there's no money in our GID, but we want the opportunity to meet with the engineering department to say, okay, what do we do now before you vote to dissolve this? What options do we have? Can we start funding it now? Do we need to transition it to a PID? We're just asking for it to not be voted to be dissolved today. Give us the opportunity to have meaningful time to gather, respond, ask questions. And then, yes, understood that this may mean the tax gets reinstated if that's what we decide to do. But we're just asking for this not to be voted to be dissolved today and let us have time to take action as a neighborhood.
Thank you. Next speaker.
I'll be brief. Matt Schultz, SCHULTZ, live on Linda Lane, and I just wanted the facts that you gave us that's kind of what we really needed to have in the letter. So I guess my question's not about the specifics of the road maintenance, but when we go to announce things like this, if we can have that information, that'd be great. Because I went looking and trying to figure out, I spent an hour trying to figure out what the difference between a GID and a PID was. Like there was just not enough information in there for us to understand even what we were being asked. And so I think a lot of us came in here not even knowing what was really on the table. So just better descriptions in the future is what I'm asking for. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Oops, sorry, please come up.
Just one last question. Sorry, Sonia Glasser. I also live in the neighborhood. If an LID or a PID needs to be instated, who votes and what is the consideration of majority vote to pass? What that looks like would be my question.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll make sure that gets asked. Any other folks want to come up and speak? Anyone online? Is there anyone online? Is there anyone online?
Any members of the public who would like to speak at this time on this case, please use the raise your hand function. There are no hands raised.
We'll give one last opportunity for anybody in the audience who wants to speak. And we'll make sure we get these questions answered for you today. All right, we'll close public comment, then we'll bring it back to staff. So Katie, you've heard some of the questions. Maybe you can, I wrote down some of the questions, but from what you've heard, maybe you can give some information to folks.
Absolutely. And thank you for the feedback on the letter. It is kind of a standard boilerplate letter, so we will definitely do some improvements there. So a pothole, if I'm remembering correctly, that is not considered a part of the maintenance. I do believe Road and Bridge, and I hate to speak on their behalf, but I know we've had a lot of meetings with them. About every 7 to 9 years, we'll continue to do a seal over your road, as long as the road underneath, basically the foundation of your roads, will allow that. They make that determination, and they will not make it until your roads come up for schedule. And so you have to keep that in mind, and that is something that I can give you their contact information to talk with their subdivision roads manager. What other ones did the process. So again, I think as Frank stated, so an LID would be if you guys were to take out a loan. I don't believe your roads are in those conditions at this point because of the maintenance you guys have been receiving from Road and Bridge. That would be if we were needing to take out a loan, you'd have to pay interest on it. There'd be an assessment that's equal across everybody's property. I don't believe we're in that situation. Right now, if we were to create a PID, what we would do is we'd ask to meet with probably 3 neighbors that you guys would choose to come forward and work with county staff. The reason we say 3 is state statute requires 3 people to route a petition. There's an application process, and during that process, we actually have an inspector go out and inspect your roads. They measure your roads, and they create a plan that's basically over the next 30 years, 20 to 30 years, on what they believe would need to be done with your roads. The current PID process is a lot more in-depth than in 1970 when this was originally created. So the people who would be included in this process we would create a district boundary. It'd basically be anybody who gains a benefit from the internal roads being paved. So we would look at that internal boundary, and all of those individuals would be included in this. During the petition stage, we try to be more inclusive to make sure that everybody is involved and that everybody can, sign in favor of. Once that's taken place, we'd actually come back here, meet with these commissioners again, and we would basically go over, do we have 30% or more in favor of? And then there's other criteria they would look at to then put it on the November ballot. It would only show up again for those individuals that are within that boundary, and it would only show up in your ballots. So you guys would see it, nobody else would see it, and you guys would be able to vote on it. Like other things, it's a simple majority vote. So if more people in favor of vote yes, then it would be formed. At that point, then you guys would get your own interest-bearing account again. We'd start financial statements. We'd start working with the neighborhood on different things to kind of aim for, goals. What do we want to see done? Crack sealing. Kind of fill in the gap work of things that need to be done in between the maintenance of Road and Bridge when they're out there. Did I capture everything? I tried to remember.
Yeah, the only thing another thing that I heard was, can you describe what general maintenance is, and does that include chip seal?
Yes, that does include the chip seal. Like I said, that's every 7 to 9 years. I think that Road and Bridge is pushing it more towards 9 because they're now realizing that the material they're using does last 9 years. But again, I'd be happy to get you guys the information from our Road and Bridge manager for subdivision roads on that, and they could kind of walk you through what that looks like.
Thank you. And then I guess one of the questions that come up, there was a request to continue using the GID. That can no longer be used as a tool. We couldn't, even if we wanted to, collect taxes from this GID that was created in 1970. Is that correct, Frank?
That is correct. And I think it makes sense. It is sort of a convoluted series of statutes, and it's a little bit confusing. But when you form these things, and because Tabor came in after this was created, right, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights now requires at any time that there is an assessment on your property that you have to go to a vote. And so we can't impose any new taxes because of Tabor. It has to go to a vote one way or the other. So even if this GID stays in place, any additional tax, you can't just restart taxing people with the GID that's in place. You'd have to go to a ballot anyway. You'd have to go vote on it anyway. And the problem is the GID that was created in the 70s doesn't really talk about what it's created for. Anymore, what you would have to do is you would have to say, we're going to charge you some specific amount of money for some specific project, so that each of you would know, I'm going to have an additional $1,300 a year, or I'm going to have whatever, and here's the specific project that it's going for. What exists now is sort of a generalized, we're going to tax you at some unknown amount for some unknown project from 50 years ago, and that no longer exists and cannot function. And so if the residents of the community want to establish a PID, you have to get 30% of the people in the neighborhood to approve the petition, and then you can petition for an LID. You can do the same thing, and the board can actually initiate a PID or an LID on its own, but not against the will of the residents. And so we do that, and Katie and I are happy to talk to you about doing that if you would like to. But to answer your question, this one can't be used anymore to tax anybody. You'd have to go back to a vote, and you'd have to go back to a vote about what the money was going to be used for a particular project.
Thank you for clarifying that, Frank. Commissioner Shattuck McNally, you have a question?
Katie, forgive me if you mentioned this, but part of this process, because we have 65 of these and we all have them in our districts. And I don't know if you mentioned that the Board of County Commissioners appoints who's on the board. Did you mention that? And that, I take that pretty seriously because it's really important to have people who are really understanding the process. And you do a lot to help educate those board members and bring them in if this is the pathway they're going to look to go for it. I don't know if you covered that. I just want to make sure they understand how that process works. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. No, I did not. One of the really incredible features that we offer here at the county is that if this does get approved, an application gets opened up online for only, again, the people within this boundary. And the commissioners, you fill out an application, they will interview, they'll talk to you, and then they will actually appoint 3 individuals from the neighborhood. And those 3 individuals kind of become the conduit of information from the rest of the neighborhood to county staff. And we work with them really closely. They will have like an annual meeting. And at that meeting, they'll share the statements, the financial statements, and all those different things. And with the road work that's going to be coming up, if there's any openings on the board, and we really work at transparency with these two. So we have all of their financial statements online. So all of you guys could go to our website and look at all of our PIDs, their financial statements. It breaks everything out. That's been a real big push for us here at the county, is to make sure that, everybody sees what's out there. They have their own interest-bearing accounts, and those 3 individuals, like I said, work with us to figure out, do we need to come out there and do a walkthrough of the neighborhood with you guys? Do we need to go ahead and do crack sealing this year? Do we need to work with Road and Bridge to figure out some other stuff to be done out there? And we also do all the contracting. So let's say your roads need to have an overlay. We would actually set up a bid process. We'd go out, we'd find the bidder, the lowest bidder, the middle bidder. We'd do all this research. We go and we look at everything we can. We make sure they have bonds, they have proper insurance. We do all of those different steps just to make sure that we're, getting the best deal for you guys in the neighborhood. And that's, again, we work really closely with those 3 individuals that are appointed by the county commissioners.
If I might, Madam Chair, and continue. Thank you, Madam Chair. So I just wanted to share, I live on unincorporated Larimer County. I'm the only commissioner currently that does. And I run and walk a lot in my neighborhood, and I don't have sidewalks. So I get it, right? There's 4 different public improvement districts in like if you drew a mile or 2 mile radius around my house. And so they're all different. Some are less than a mile of road. Some are, very large. Some have 5 houses, they're all different. And I think that is one thing, and I'm asking a question, Katie, isn't that one part of this that's very unique, is that this can be really tailored to the residents and their specific neighborhood, and they can really focus on what's best for their neighborhood. And that's one of the positive things about this process.
Yes, you are correct. It is very geared towards what your guys' needs are in your neighborhood. Kind of like to Frank's point, we basically, when we're writing it up, we really hit all the main issues, the things in your neighborhood that need to be addressed. Sometimes there's drainage, sometimes there's just other items, and so we do tailor that maintenance plan for every single individual PID. So it is, yeah, it's very unique, every single one. Some have curb and sidewalk, some don't. It's very unique.
Madam Chair, I have a couple more, if that would be okay.
Please go ahead.
Thank you. So Katie, if the neighborhood decided to go ahead and tax themselves to take care of their neighborhood, and Frank, maybe you could answer this too, how long would this process be? You talked about the petition and then bring it forth, and then it has to go on a ballot. If the community was seeing that, usually that ballot comes out with their regular ballot because it costs money to put that on the ballot. So thinking if this neighborhood is really inclined to look at this kind of thing, there is a November ballot coming out, and I'm just curious about timing. How long does this take?
So if they were to come in, walk upstairs with me right now and fill out an application, it actually would not go on the November ballot until 2026. Everything that we've been working on for 2025 has already been done. And the reason for that is because we'd begin with the maintenance plan, and that takes a lot of back and forth between us and that small group. We really, again, try to tailor it towards your needs. Then we would go ahead this fall and we do a neighborhood meeting. So we would go meet with the neighbors. We'd discuss what all is included, what a PID is, what all these different features are that they'd be looking at. Then we begin in the spring, the petition, where they would actually route the petition. Then we would do a hearing, which would be in end of June, early July, and then it'd be on the November ballot. Those are all also guided kind of by state statute once the petition gets issued. So we have to kind of watch those timelines as well.
Thank you for that. Really great information. My last question, because, and I think it was great feedback to kind of maybe help provide some more information on some of our letters to help folks understand, because we don't have this happen very often. Is that correct? This hasn't come since my short time on the board. It hasn't come up, I think, very often, maybe less than a handful of times.
This is actually the first general improvement district or public improvement district that we've dissolved, but we have dissolved only maybe one or two of the LIDs since you've been here, Commissioner, so very
That's
rare.
what I thought. So it is kind of unique. And then there was questions or concerns from Mr. Martin about that maybe this was intentionally scheduled during business times and maybe for maybe not be as transparent. But maybe this is for our county attorney or Ms. Oxmaker. Before we even, sorry to put you on the spot there, but whoever wants this one, when we've had land use hearings on Monday afternoons for even before I was commissioner. They're either 3 to 6 or 6:30 to 10. And sometimes we have continuance. Those are the days we have hearings. We try to make those public and make them accessible. And if there is controversy or that seems like there's a lot of public need, we try to put those on an evening time. But these have been going on for over a decade, and I'm just wondering if we try to be transparent. We don't ever try to make this not a transparent process because our documents and things like that. Would that be an accurate statement?
Yes, that's a very accurate statement. We do have notice requirements for whenever we have a public hearing. Anything that has to go to a public hearing has to come to one of these land use hearings because it's it's the best opportunity to have that type of debate and forum. So those always happen Mondays, and you're correct. There's a 3 p.m. hearing with the potential to have a 6:30 p.m. hearing if we know in advance that something is going to be of great controversy and we can't get through it at that time. So you're absolutely correct.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys are always looking, it is one of our guiding principles. We live and do these every day in lots of ways, and I could give you lots of examples. I gave some nectar points out today for employees who are doing this on a daily basis. We take those very seriously, and so it's always great to have some feedback from our public, and so I appreciate the feedback. I can understand it can be confusing because it is kind of a unique system. Not every county does it this way, and there's 64 counties in the state of Colorado, and they all have unique things to do. We have over 800 miles of unincorporated roads in Larimer County, and we have $7 million a year to maintenance those 800 roads. So you can imagine how much that money has to stretch and how we have to really have this timed in a schedule, and it's a challenge, to say the least. So I want to thank you for answering our questions, and I think that's all I have today from my notes and I think we certainly heard about maybe how we can be better communicating with some of those folks, but especially with this kind of a unique situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Cavalos, any questions? Go ahead, please.
Thank you. I have a few questions, and some of them are building on some of the answers you've already given. But just to further clarify regarding what requires voter approval, we know that if you go through the process as Katie described for a public improvement district, a PID, that is a mill levy and therefore taxing against people's property, and that has to be approved. Once the petition, there's a certain number of signatures, and then ultimately goes before the voters. Is an LID subject to voter approval? Because that's not a tax. Could you further clarify that?
The LID is also subject to voter approval, and the difference is a PID is a mill levy that attaches, but an LID is what they call a special assessment, but it functions essentially as the same thing. Either way, because of Tabor, the Taxpayer Bill of Rights, the county cannot impose a tax on a citizen without them having an opportunity to vote on it. And they have to be told, that's why when you get your ballot, it says, shall your taxes be raised for the following
But
purposes.
you just said a moment ago that it's an assessment, a fee. A fee is different than a tax. So,
It's not a fee, it's a special assessment, but it is subject to voter approval.
okay,
Yeah,
all right.
because it's an indebtedness. The language in Tabor talks about any increased indebtedness has to be approved by the voters.
Okay, thank you, Frank. Just a couple more questions, please. On the matter of regular maintenance, I appreciate the responses. I'm understanding that potholes are not considered, fixing potholes are not considered part of regular maintenance, although chip seal is. I think the person who spoke to the chip seal matter suggested that every 4 years, but I thought you said every 9 years. So could you further explain what falls under the list of, besides chip seal, what falls under the list of, quote, regular maintenance, and why aren't potholes part of that?
I don't think I could speak to why potholes are not. I just know that they're not on the list based on conversations Todd has had with staff, the Road and Bridge Director has had with staff on other ones. But it's anything that basically covers the surface. So as long as we don't have to go down into anything under the main surface, then it's covered. So it would be the crack sealing, chip sealing. They have been known if they're like little tiny, like about this big, kind of little divots in the road, they have known to come in and kind of fill those out and try to flatten them. I'm sure that they have a lot more robust terminology, and I apologize that they are not here. I did invite the director on Friday when I had a conversation with one of the folks in the audience, but he is out of the office. So the way that he explained it when we met with Nedra Acres is basically if it's anything that is done on the surface of your roads to maintain and to keep it sealed, they will take care of it. If it's anything that goes down deep underneath that, it is the responsibility of the property owners, basically the foundation of what the roads are.
A few more. So thank you, Katie. I think it was Ms. Harris, perhaps, or Kathy, who was asking the general question about what is the considered regular maintenance. So you further explained that. Thank you. Just a couple more, and that is, well, on the matter of the person who mentioned about the letter, perhaps Mr. Schultz, Matt, that there weren't many specifics in the letter notifying the folks of this hearing. I think the letter went out or was received May 2nd. Is it a form letter, or is that something we can improve upon? I think Commissioner Shaddock McNally spoke to this. But for example, there appears that to put all the information in about PIDs and all of that is a lot. But could we or did we include, for example, the links to the engineering website that gives a lot of good information, including a video about PIDs? Is there room for improvement on these kinds of letters, recognizing it's very rare that these dissolutions occur?
Yes, this letter was kind of a boilerplate, like I said, of some of our other letters where we updated state statute and we did those things. And then the district or the county engineer went through and kind of made a few changes that he wanted me to bold and a few things like that before it was sent out. It does not have links to it, but I do believe we could probably try to figure out a way to put those in there. And I did also want to mention, Commissioner, that if anybody does have further questions regarding the road and bridge stuff, I'd be happy after this to collect email addresses so that I can get that list of things from the road and bridge director and try to get them sent out so everybody has the actual correct wording.
Okay, great. One last thing, please. Thank you. I think Jason or Mr. Martin, I think one of your asks was to remove this item from the consent agenda, which we have done, of course, and this has allowed us to have this kind of exchange. And hopefully this information helps with understanding how some of this works. I think the other thing that's come up from a few folks who were offering public comment, and that is delaying the decision, whatever decision we would make today, so there's more time to have conversations with engineering about other options. And it's my understanding that if we move to approve the dissolution of this particular GID number 1, those conversations can still occur and ought to occur. Can you speak to that, Katie?
Absolutely. We invite anybody to come in and talk to us about PIDs in general anytime. I think that's pretty much what we do up there anymore. We have so many and we're happy to always do it. I know that regarding the comment about it being during the day, I myself and my staff actually do also come meet with neighborhoods in the evenings oftentimes, and we go to your guys' location to have these conversations, so we're happy to do so. We're happy to do Zoom conversations in the evenings as well, because we do understand people work and that's really hard. So we are open to do all those things. Either way, whether we dissolve it or choose not to dissolve or whatever we do, I'm happy to meet with anybody even after this meeting and just have a quick conversation, since so many of you guys probably did miss work to be here today.
Thank you. Any other questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Shannon McNally.
So Katie, just to be clear, to go back, so if they wanted to meet with you today, they could start the process today. All right, thank you.
All right. So I'm just going to do I don't have any other questions. I hope everybody's questions got answered, but as you can see, if your questions weren't answered, we do want to get all your questions answered. So I want to apologize that you felt like you were not knowing what the meeting was about and not understanding that. I take responsibility for that. We do have an intention to collaborate, so I apologize if that was your experience. And Katie does too. As you can tell, she's about one of the nicest people on the planet. So, she will collaborate with you. And I think that we didn't have something in the evening because we honestly didn't expect you, because we saw that this is more of a housekeeping item, of formality. This is something that's not working. We can't use it into the future. Dissolving it or not dissolving it today will not change the fact that you would need a new mechanism to do this kind of thing. But that wasn't clear to you, and I'm hearing that. So I apologize for that. We want to give you the customer service that you need. We want to get your questions answered. You can have that evening meeting. You can talk to Katie. We'll make sure that staff is available to you. We'll get all those questions that you have. You can also contact any of us. I actually live kind of across the street from your neighborhood, so you can call me for sure. But any of us are available to answer any of these questions and to route any of those questions to Road and Bridge that you have about, road conditions and what that might look like in the future. So I just want to put that out there. I will say myself, I'm inclined to dissolve this today because it has no value for you at all. It's just something that's on the books. What does have value is the fact that you can have these conversations and get some answers and decide what you want to do as a community going forward with your neighborhood, whether you want to tax yourselves if you want that better road maintenance. A lot of people decide to do that because it keeps the value of your homes, and it's just nicer to drive on roads that are drivable. With that, I will. We don't have follow-up questions left, but stick around. We can answer any questions that you have after the vote happens. So, Commissioners, do you have any deliberation you want to do before we take a vote? Commissioner Shaddock McNally.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. First, I want to thank everyone who came. I think that's the best part of local government, as we can have a conversation and you can come and have access to your local government officials. You can't do that in other parts of government. You can't just walk in and have this meeting. So I want to first say thank you for all being here. It's an opportunity for us to improve. We learned that maybe we need to make some more things more clear. I hope you heard very clearly that we work for you, and this is how we try to have these systems and these improvement districts set up to work for each individual neighborhood and work for what's best for your neighborhood to get the services you need. I have been to your neighborhood a few times with the neighborhood watch party, neighborhood out at the ice cream. Things appreciate that very much. I think that was your garage. Thank you. I've been there and I've enjoyed that. Really good friends with the sheriff, and I appreciate you supporting our law enforcement, and it's really important, and it's a special thing to have neighborhoods who come together and do those activities to become a strong community, because when your communities are united and your neighborhoods thrive and are safer, and that's a really special thing in Larimer County. I think it's unfortunate, and I really think it's hard. It's concerning to hear about some of the misunderstandings, and I hope you feel heard today, and that we're trying to do what's best for your neighborhood by getting you in a new process. Sounds like you could probably start that today, and I'm sure, as Commissioner Stevens, Madam Chair, has shared, I've seen staff have meetings all the time, and they have them on in evenings, and like I said, there's a lot in my district, and the whole county votes for us, but and I love going to every corner of the county, but they all are different, and they have meetings at different times, and I know some of these, if you go forward, the process of having board members and then having annual meetings, or even having a process that works for you all to have your best communication about what's going on, is really something special. I did want to make a note that I think it's a big win and positive thing for me to see you all here today. That shows you care about your community and your quality of your roads, and making a connection with your local government. We hear you. Heard you loud and clear. Obviously we have some things we can do to make a little more clear in communication. As you heard, it's not something we do very often, and so I do think this is special. I look forward to coming having some more ice cream, and thank you for bringing this to our attention. But I do feel what's best for your community. Even if we had this thing, it's not going to work how it's in place right now. So let's get you something that is going to be a better product and a better relationship, and that you all can and construct it so that fits best for your needs, for your neighborhood. And I'm sure those questions, if we can get those today, I'm sure Road and Bridge and the staff would love to take that tonight and get back to you with those questions. So that can happen today right away as well, or maybe bring them back to a public meeting. I can't speak for staff. I'm sure our Community Planning, Infrastructure, and Resources Director is listening to this meeting, and Director Ellis is probably already thinking about when to get those people together to come meet with you. I'm almost positive that she's listening in on this meeting. So do know that I think staff will be responsive and will go forward. But I do feel this is probably the best thing to help you guys get on a better track, especially since you haven't had any money, or it hasn't even been taxed or collected for so many years. And probably the mills, or even determining what you have in that backward planning for what's the best plan, would be able to address what you need to do for each other. And we have done a few of those since I've been on the board, where we voted and supported, and the neighborhoods voted. So I just want to thank you all for being here. And Madam Chair, I will I know people want to delay this, but I don't think delaying is going to help at all. It's just, if we go ahead and I feel move forward, then they can take the next steps to actually get the right thing in place that they want as a neighborhood. So I'll be supporting the dissolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Kvalos, anything you want to say before we look to take a vote?
I too am inclined to support the motion before us, and that is to take action and approve the dissolution of the GID number 1, And I think that I'm very glad that we pulled this off the consent agenda and that we're able to have this exchange of information. And if folks want follow up, staff is ready to do that. So I'll be supporting the motion. And once again, appreciate that you all turned out. And hopefully we've clarified things a little bit better.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, I'll be supporting the motion to dissolve, knowing that this is just a tool you can't use anymore. So there's no reason to keep it on the books. But I hope the conversations continue. And like I said, staff and we are all available to help you figure out what looks best for your community. So with that, Commissioner Shattuck McNally, I'll ask you to make the motion, please.
Certainly, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I move that the Board of County Commissioners of Larimer County move to dissolve the Larimer County General Improvement District Number 1 that includes Imperial Estates, Second Imperial Estates, and the Westfield subdivision.
Thank you. There's a motion on the table. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. That motion passes 3-0. And so that will be dissolved. And like I said, I hope the conversations continue. That is our last item on the agenda today. So at 3:56 p.m. we are adjourned. Thank you.